Well, Rachel, we can always be surprised in politics, but I think DeSantis' road ends tonight. I mean, this was his only hope. And he's going to end up being beat by 30 points. And if you look down, he's got nothing going on in New Hampshire. Hard to believe he could do any better than a poor third in South Carolina. So he may stay in. He's kind of a ghost roaming the country. I think for Haley, I agree with Jen. She has to win New Hampshire or her path is over. If she wins New Hampshire, then they need to think through. They're probably going to lose her home state of South Carolina, which will not be a lot of fun to Donald Trump. But then you get into Super Tuesday. And there's going to be some states where Trump's going to be a huge favorite, but there's also going to be states where Haley potentially could get to 50%. So I agree with Jen tactically. She needs to get to New Hampshire ASAP and close really well over these last 8 days. She also has to refresh her message a little bit. I mean, I think I would say, listen, Donald Trump won. Congratulations to the former president. But half the voters in a very conservative state like Iowa want a different nominee. Why is that? Because this is the guy that lost to Joe Biden, feeble, meek, horrible Joe Biden. And you think he's going to be able to beat him again. So I think she needs to tap into that and go for broke here, because her candidacy basically either is on, small but at least existing path to somehow be the nominee, or it's going to be over. So I think that's where we are. My guess is DeSantis will stay in and say, I came in second and I'm going to stay in and I can be the alternative. I just don't see that there's any opening, because at the end of the day, this comes down to the acquisition of votes, and you have to have a theory of how you're going to eventually get over 50% of the vote against Donald Trump. And I think DeSantis's plan was to win tonight. I look back to us in 2008, Barack Obama, had we lost Iowa, he would have been just a mere footnote in American political history, if that. We put all of our chips on that, as did DeSantis. So when that doesn't work out, you bust. But for Haley, it's to win New Hampshire and then figure out what's my Super Tuesday strategy so that I can withstand a likely loss in my home state of South Carolina to Donald Trump.
David, it's Chris Hayes. Can I ask you another question? And then, Jen, I'd love to hear you weigh in on this, too. Again, I don't want to be overly premature here, but you said to your mind that DeSantis is effectively now a walking ghost after tonight's performance. If there's one thing that he did wrong, I mean, there was a period, as Steve pointed out, when he was polling head-to-head or even up. There was a ton of money, a ton of enthusiasm, particularly after the midterms when the Republican Party disappointed across the nation, where Trump-backed candidates did particularly poorly and DeSantis did very well, cruising to re-election. How did it? What did they screw up?
Well, Chris, to become the nominee of a party, you actually have to be a decent candidate. So what they screwed up was he was a terrible candidate. So, I mean, what we've learned historically is that, and he's the governor of Florida. You think that's a big stage. I mean, the political graveyard is littered with people who look like on paper they'd be strong presidential candidates. Yep. But having gone through this, I mean, this is basically like a searing proctological exam beamed into every home. And very few people come out whole on the other side. And he was diminished by this. And so I think at the end of the day, yes, he started off strong. Clearly, Trump's indictments helped him. But DeSantis never could basically occupy that stage. Yeah. And he was just not a strong performer. And at the end of the day, Haley, if she wins New Hampshire, which is a big if, but if she does, Trump and the media, she's going to be under a really, really brutal spotlight. And that will be her test. But I think that's it. I think strategically, Chris, I think it was the right decision to go all in Iowa. I don't think there was another strategy out there. So, and historically, that's worked for a few candidates. It hasn't worked for most.
Jen, can I ask you the timing question? So I agree with David, right? Like, ultimately, you have to be a good candidate. And if you're not a good candidate, this is what you get. And he was not a good candidate. Maybe in some other iteration he is. Yeah. But there was the question of, like, striking while the iron's hot, right? There's just been these three moments in Trump's political life since, 2015. There was after the Access Hollywood tape. Yep. There was, looked like he was teetering, headed for the exits. There is after January 6th. When he's at a nadir, and there's right after the midterms. There's that basically month. And at no point did anyone do the thing necessary in the moment to kind of end his political career.
And here's what you could have done in Iowa. Ron DeSantis could have gone there and say, look, Iowa in 2016, you had questions about Donald Trump. You didn't select him. And you know what? Maybe in the end, he was the right person for 2016, but you were right to have questions. This job of this state is to ferret out who the best person to lead this country is. And you all are going to do that this time. We're going to do that together. We're going to figure that out together. But like, you have always known that he was not the right he was not the right leader. And if you could have built, but it would take the courage of conviction to say, hey, to understand 40% of the party doesn't support Donald Trump, right? Even today, the polling shows that 60% do, 40% don't. And I do think, there's a chance that Trump is still vulnerable here because 50% of Iowans aren't going to vote for him. 40% of the country, Republicans in the country, don't support him. It is built on a house of cards, and his strategy is built on lies. And, if Nikki Haley is willing to speak really frankly in the next 8 days in New Hampshire, and she wins there, and she doesn't get scared but feels empowered, and then continues to make that argument that, call him out on his lies, and Republicans are reacting to that. Trump may still end up as the nominee, but he's going to be a weaker nominee. It's going to, for Republicans, I just think it's so valuable when Republicans call him out on lies. That makes a big difference.